Good morning. Welcome to the September 2nd regular session of the Board of Supervisors. Roll call, please.
Brandt.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Leyland.
Here.
Kurtenbach.
Here.
Hall.
Here. Please join in a moment of silence to reflect on this morning's actions. So please stand if you're able and join for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1, agenda receipt is proposed or as amended.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2, public comments. This is a time in the agenda for someone to speak on an issue that is not on this morning's meeting agenda, either in the room or online. Seeing none, move to item 3, proclamations. As a resolution to claim the month of September as Hunger Action Month. We'll have Barb Prather from Northeast Iowa.
Want me to speak first or do the proclamation first? Doesn't matter to me.
Whichever.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. If it doesn't, I can say. You work in it every day. If it doesn't work, I can just send it to everybody.
So,
All right, no, that's fine.
an alternative, but.
I can just go ahead and start. Good morning, Barb Prather, Northeast Iowa Food Bank. Thank you very much for having me today. Unfortunately, for now, over 45,000 people in Northeast Iowa who are food insecure. The numbers are going up. It's about an 11% increase over the previous year. And right now we're seeing, I would have to say, record numbers throughout all the services that we provide. And that just means the meal gap is getting wider and longer. So this month is a time to raise awareness to the issue of hunger and that there are solutions by volunteering, advocating, and donating towards the cause to help us to ensure people have access to food throughout Northeast Iowa. I do want to highlight our capacity campaign we have going on, From Hunger to Hope, Building a Secure Tomorrow. If you've been by our building recently in Lafayette, you can see we have started construction to build a bigger pantry, unfortunately, move our loading dock, and then do some internal renovations to make our volunteer spaces, our freezer cooler bigger, all because we need to have the more space to provide food to more people. The campaign is around $14 million. To date, we're a little over $7 million that we've raised to ensure that people have access for food. But I just want you to know that for too many people, food insecurity is not going away, and I appreciate the support the Board of Supervisors has given us in the past, and ask that you continue to think about supporting us again in the future, because it does make a difference in the lives of many people, not only right here in Black Hawk County, but throughout our 16-county area that we serve. When government cuts programs, our demand goes up. And even with all the SNAP cuts this summer with the big beautiful bill that have not gone into place yet, our numbers are already increasing. So it just gets pushed back to each community, and that's why we're here to ask you to support Hunger Action Month and support the programs that the food bank provides.
Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of vital concern in Black Hawk County. In Northeast Iowa, over 40,000 people face hunger, and 1 in 6 children do not know where their next meal will come from. And whereas Black Hawk County is committed to taking steps to combat hunger in every part of our community and to provide additional resources that those in Black Hawk County need. And whereas Black Hawk County is committed to working with the Northeast Iowa Food Bank, a member of the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks, and educating people about the role and importance of food banks in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger issues. And whereas more individuals in Black Hawk County rely on food provided by the members of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank annually, and whereas the members of the Northeast Iowa Food Bank distributed more than 8.4 million meals to Northeast Iowa residents in 2024 through its network of food pantries, member agencies, shelters, and other community organizations. And whereas the month of September has been designated Hunger Action Month in order to bring attention to food insecurity in our communities and to inspire the public in the fight to end hunger by taking action, including volunteer shifts, social media shares, and donations, to ensure nobody has to make an impossible choice between food and other necessities like medicine, utilities, or childcare. And whereas food banks across the country, including the Northeast Iowa Food Bank, will host numerous events throughout the month of September to bring awareness and help end hunger in their local community. Now therefore, we, the Black Hawk County Board of Supervisors, do hereby recognize September 2025 as Hunger Action Month in Black Hawk County, and we call this observance to the attention of our citizens.
Move to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other comments?
I just want to thank you, Barb, and all your staff, all your member pantries, all your volunteers for everything you're doing to provide the dignity of a meal to people.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Should we get a photo?
Sure, would love one.
Let's go ahead and vote on this,
Oh, sorry.
you know, probably just to make sure.
Probably.
So resolution, roll call please.
Brant,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes, alright.
Okay.
Yes, Trish.
Step out just a bit.
Barb.
There we go. Okay. One. One, two, three. Very good. Thank you.
Great, thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you. See you next week.
Yep.
Item 4, claims and payments. This is a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures, that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlements of such claims as allowed.
So,
Second.
Ms. Weaver, please.
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $790,086.39. The sheriff's 60/40 fund portion of that is $2,668.24. And we only have one kind of large purchase today, that is paying for a Gradall from Murphy Tractor. We paid out of secondary roads fund for $492,830. Everything appears to be in order.
Alright. This is a roll call, resolution roll call please.
Leyland,
yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. Item 5, receive project updates from the department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, engineer. As Michelle alluded to, we have just purchased our Gradall. I just wanted to give you an update on that. The roads are in good condition, so I just wanted to spend 2 minutes talking about our new purchase of the Gradall. We were able to find a gently used Gradall, and if you recall, the way this came about was there are no longer Gradall dealers here in Iowa any longer. The closest dealer is in Omaha. They are still manufactured over in Ohio, I believe. However, there are no Gradall dealers in the state. So a new Gradall was going to be close to $600,000 or maybe even over $600,000. We thought to save money since we had budgeted $550,000. In FY26, we would look for a used Gradall. We worked with Murphy Tractor, they were able to find one for us, so we did purchase one. Like I said, a 2023 Gradall. And we were able to also purchase a 5-year warranty through Murphy Tractor. They will be doing repairs for the 5 years on the hydraulics and powertrain that we are not able to do ourselves. The purchase price was $492,000, $830. If you want to show the next slide, Al. Here it is. So it's virtually the same. It looks very similar to the machine we currently own. The machine we own is gray. This one, they switched the color scheme several years ago. So you can see it has 270 hours on it. So it's very minimally used, and we've already been using it to place culverts throughout the county. Can I answer any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning, Board. I'm Bessemer, HR Director. Just really quick, we have the employee flu vaccine clinic that's starting. So we've emailed, worked with Public Health to kind of get those forms in, and that'll be held, I think the due date is tomorrow. And then we typically have the clinic about 2 weeks afterwards, and it'll be in our new conference room in the basement. Another thing I wanted to bring up is that we just had our utilization report from our EAP provider, Employee Family Resources out of Des Moines. So I'd like to share that utilization report at an upcoming meeting, whether it makes sense here during the department head update or an actual item, like a presentation, but just want to share with you that we're trending in a very strong trend that of utilization. Most peers are about 3%, and we're at 8% for the past year for our EAP services, which is everything from counseling to nutrition, to legal services, to a wide range of services to help support employees and their families throughout the year. So if I could have that on an upcoming agenda, that would be great.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good morning, Board. Nathan Neff, Sheriff. Just one quick update. You know, in the past, County Social Services has always reimbursed us for the mental health portion of our medical contract. Switching over to the state, we were told everything would carry over. We'd still get reimbursed from the state, but I think Michelle and I talked a time or two, and we were a little nervous about how that was going to work, to make sure it was going to work. Just to let you know, we submitted July's payments, which this usually is about $250,000 a year we get back from County Social Services. July we did 21 or 22,000 submitted to the state, and we got reimbursed for that. No problems, no questions asked, no nothing there. So one concern alleviated there, that money, at least as long as they don't change anything up on us, should keep coming in for us. So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nate, what's the update with the evidence building?
We've still been having meetings regularly. Well, it's been probably 3 or 4 weeks now since our last one, but still moving forward with it, working with the contractors. I think now they're actually working on how they're gonna get the land graded and that kind of stuff, but we've had meetings right down to where we're picking out color of tile and what kind of amenities and stuff are going inside the building. So it's definitely moving forward. I think now they've come in a little bit higher than they'd hoped, so we're kind of working on getting that back down. So that's one nice thing. We know what our amount is. Doesn't matter how big the project runs, we're in for what we're in for. So
Make your space smaller.
what's that?
Make your space smaller.
Ours is what it is. So no, but it's going forward. It's going well. So I
Will
think
that be out for bid yet this fall?
that's the hope, is to get down for bid this fall and get ground broken in the spring and get going on right away next year then. So.
Okay.
Gabby DeWitt, Marketing Coordinator. I just wanted to give an update on the wall behind you. I've sent the consensus approval of the updated design, and we hope to do install on the 8th. It really depends on how quickly they get the vinyl and the materials for the signage. So it might be later that week, but we're hoping for the 8th. So I just wanted to let you know. I do have materials in my office for departments, either magnets or clings that have the mission and values on them. If people don't pick them up this week, I'll just take them to the department head meeting, but they are available for staff. Any questions? No? Okay, great.
Thank you. Anybody else, either in the room or online? Seeing none, we'll move to the minutes approval for August 26th.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, the consent agenda. Items as listed will be acted upon by a single resolution without separate discussion unless someone from the board or the public requests that a specific item be considered separately.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call please.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes. Item 8, resolution to approve the amended agreement between Blackhawk County and Pathways Behavioral Services, Inc. for pre- and post-arrest services at Blackhawk County Jail, extending the expiration date of September 30, 2025 to April 1st, 2026, as recommended by Nate Neff, County Sheriff.
So moved.
Second.
Good morning, Ward. Yeah, so this is the same contract that we've had with for about 5 years now. Talking to Caitlin Emmerich, I wish she was gonna be here today, but obviously not. But she'd recommended that all current contracts be extended through April while they go through the process of new applications and get everything sorted out. But, so this is that. So I just got the contract from Vicki this morning and forwarded that on. It's the exact same contract. The dollar amount is obviously greater on it, but it's the same monthly amount. So it's just extending the same services we're providing now in the jail with Pathways. Unfortunately, there is one, I gave a positive update through the state, now I've got to give you a negative one that's gonna cost us a little bit or potentially could. So this grant is going through the opioid use funds. It provides for assessments within the jail and substance use, or mental health, I'm sorry, reimbursement on it. They've said they're not covering some of the substance abuse one, and Vicki, you may want to step in and clarify for me a little bit on it. So some of the group sessions and individual sessions where we're doing pathway services in the jail, they will not reimburse. Actually, going through this, we found that I think it's going to cost Pathways about $52,000
that we have to pay back
They
from last year.
back.
For, it's not the opioid settlement funds, it's
Okay.
not that.
You
Don't
said
worry
that
about the
like you
opioid
know
settlement
your
funds, it's
money.
not that. What it is our normal treatment services. Even though they want us to treat mental health and substance abuse the same, they don't when it comes to the jails. So they pay for things, the opioid settlement funds will pay for all of it if they're opioid involved. What happens is if they're not opioid involved, they won't pay for any ongoing treatment or group services within the jails. They'll pay for screenings, which doesn't make a lot of sense to us because people are in the jails for months and months, and if we started them on treatment while they're in jail and then carried it on afterwards, it makes more sense for their recovery, long-term recovery, and integration back into the community. I'm currently in arguments with the state about this, so we're working through it, and I hope they understand that this is a really big gap and that they'll cover it, because again, they cover mental health services, and substance abuse, behavioral health, they're changing all that to under one umbrella. So we're working on it, but at this time, they're not paying.
Right. And I've also had a conversation with the state on it, and they acknowledged to me that, yeah, that's a gap, that it doesn't make any sense that we say, yes, you need help, but we're not going to give you that help. So right now, we're guessing that's about $20,000 a year that Pathways is being shorted in the jail.
Right
What I would like to do is, just a couple weeks ago, I was up here and got the NAFCare contract lowered by about $20,000 per year. Just take that savings and use it for Pathways for this year anyway to cover that, and hopefully the state comes through with us and fixes it going forward. If not, we'll have to re-examine that, but that would keep everything status quo, would keep my medical line the same, that savings that I had, we knew probably wasn't gonna last long anyway, but I think this is a good place to use that savings.
So that's in addition to the contract, so it's
Nate, I am online.
Okay.
I'm just not in the room with you today. And just to kind of add to the conversation, just a reminder that at the August 19th meeting in the department update section, the group that's working on the opioid settlement funds did recommend that current contracts be amended to extend through April 1st, 2026. So this is in alignment with that recommendation.
the opiate part of it is. I think there's two different things going on.
There are, it's just confusing me.
Yes.
Sorry. I was getting confused on it myself, to be honest, so.
And the board needs to vote on those recommendations, I assume, at some point.
We've got half of it is on the agenda right now, so.
So the
other-
opioid ones is what we're
Something.
voting, that was what the board is voting on now, correct?
Oh,
Yes,
just-
just not.
Well, I hadn't seen the contract, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, like I said, I just forwarded it to you maybe an hour ago, if that,
I'm
so.
looking at it now. So this is just for the opioid, and then it would be prorated to be, it's 69,750 based on last year, if that's what you were thinking.
So, do we,
Yeah, up to that amount, and we just did it divided by 93 divided by 12 times 7 months. May add that on to the contract.
Okay, so less than I was thinking.
Yeah.
All right, yep.
So we don't need to put a contingent on review?
It's up to you. It's, that amount would be, I think, if I'm doing my math right, 54,250 for the 7 months, which probably should be maybe 6 months, but it'll, if you do that, we're good.
And where we're at in spending, we're not spending all of the $93,000 a year down anyway, so this is up to, and we're not gonna, I don't know what's to spend.
We'll be good.
Since we have time, why don't we put a contingent on review? Because I was gonna say September 30 was the date of
Yeah, we do
going
have
into
a
place. so
contract.
why not
Well,
just do
we've
that?
got the other portion of this that you gotta vote on as well, right? If we're gonna commit to 20, the 20 that we were doing NAF care, providing that here, I wonder if it doesn't make, I mean, if I could do the contingent, or if we say, let's bring it back next week, full, everything buttoned up, so that we're passing it at once versus this thing that'll,
Well, it'll probably be
This
two
is-
different requests though, I assume.
I would think
good.
that just for auditing and thing purposes, you'd want 2 different contracts.
Yeah.
Because the opioid ones you wanna
Yeah.
keep separate.
Yes, I do.
yeah.
So Nate, you're suggesting the other 20,000 is gonna come from your budget, my understanding?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, use what we're saving on the NAFCare contract to cover this.
Okay.
And just know it's funding of last resort, yours will be funding of last resort, we'll try every way to figure it out through the state before.
Yes, I did. Sounded promising, the conversation I had, but I don't know how quickly anything's gonna
Yeah.
close on it, obviously, so. They definitely recognized the gap there.
If it's gonna take longer, is there someone we need to be reaching out to at the state to be notifying them of the problem?
Like I said, we've both been in conversation with people in the state on it, so.
All the heads of the departments, and then also like the head of behavioral health, I've talked to her a couple different
Yeah.
times, so.
And I'm on an
we're trying to figure
advisory,
it out.
I'm on the advisory committee for District 7 on that as well, and that was where I brought it up, was at our meeting, so.
Okay. Do we have a resolution, motion and second
Yeah.
already?
Mhm.
We did.
Yes.
Was someone, who made the motion?
Schwartz
I
and
second
Leyland.
it, I believe, but we can, would you, is the board's preference to wait and do both next week? No, yes, no?
I mean, I think we can do this motion right now.
Yeah, if we wanna do this one, you had suggested the contingent on review.
Just contingent on review?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
Alright.
Okay.
Alright, so we've got a motion and a second, contingent on review, roll call please.
Grant,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9A, motion to approve the travel request submitted by Al Yu, IT Director, to be approved and direct the chair to sign for same, estimated cost of $475 for Clint Hardman, Nellie Nunez, and Al Yu to attend the Iowa Technologies and Geospatial October Conference in Des Moines, scheduled October 9th and 10th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Morning, Board. This is the ITAG October Conference. Natalie and I will be presenting on a few topics. Answer any questions.
What are you presenting on?
Natalie and I are presenting on the GIS track on how we can possibly get GIS to the underserved and underrepresented counties. And then I have something on the IT side for sort of the same thing except through MSISAC and how to get cybersecurity tools to the underserved.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your leadership as well. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Alright. Motion carries. Thanks, Al. Item 9B, motion to approve travel request submitted by Amanda Fesenmeyer, Human Resources Director. Be approved and direct the chair to sign for same, $829.29 for Sheree Bellmeyer, Anna Knapp, and Amanda Fesenmeyer to attend the Iowa Public Employees and Labor Relations Association Annual Fall Conference in Urbandale, Iowa, scheduled September 11th to 12th, 2025.
So moved.
Second. All right, so this is, yes, our annual conference. It's a state chapter for, it's NPELRA is a national association, but it's the state chapter through Iowa. And a lot of good topics that we have today on well-being, or for this conference. They always have really great topics for HR professionals, but with this, just as we've done in previous years, we do close the office. We're available by email. We communicate that ahead of time. But yeah, we're looking forward to attending, and the winter conference is virtual, and spring is kind of hit or miss on whether we can make it with open enrollment and everything else going on. So it's kind of our one where we all get to go and learn. Any questions?
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 9C, resolution that the amended bidding and purchasing agreements, requirements and procedures policy with the addition of local preference be approved effective September 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Is there any discussion on this? Discussed it a handful of times.
Yes, I know.
I remain supportive. I mean, I've always viewed, all government spending has a dual purpose of also being a form of economic stimulus when used properly. And this helps to maximize the tax dollars that we collect from people who are putting right back into the community as much as possible. And so that's why I'm supportive of this policy.
I would add from my perspective that I think that the policy makes sense. We've seen with the discussion with other counties who've adopted this that it hasn't necessarily negatively impacted bids coming back. That said, I think it's a good sign as we work through, just released our strategic plan last week, economic development being a priority, collaboration being a priority. But also I think the flexibility, I think one of the things that I've heard from staff and even the public is a shift that's been present with the board over the last couple of years, that we're maybe a little bit more flexible, a little bit more nimble, a little bit more able to take action. And so if this policy, for whatever reason, does result in bids not coming back the way that we would like, then we can come back and we can address the policy and fine tune it if need be. But I think that to Chris's point, this is a really good opportunity for us to positively impact those companies that are making an investment here with the dollars that we approve on a pretty ongoing basis.
I've got Mike Henderson, Director of Blackhawk County Conservation. Just a couple of questions, because I haven't seen this policy completely, but I've heard things, and correct me or straighten me out. Is this a required situation in every case?
And I think, Mike, I was gonna say, I think when we had the work session, we left some of those terms in there, those shalls and that type of thing. But if you have clarification on that would probably be helpful.
All right, so the way that this is set up, as currently worded, is that it is an option. Policy is that you're encouraged to give some preference to businesses that participate directly in the Blackhawk County economy. However, it is, and this was intentional by the time we left policy review, it is worded as may, it is not worded as shall.
Okay.
What you do have to do under the way that it is worded the time that you present a project to your board for approval, you would have to then indicate whether you are going to apply local preference to it, and it would have to be indicated in your bid package, which is something that, we've got some sample language that's been drafted, but it's something that will probably be refined over time.
Okay. That being said, and conservation has concerns with this, we do. First of all, we think the bidding process has really worked well for us. And in the past 2.5 years, we've probably done, we've had more large projects than I think we've had since I've been here, just due to available funding, which has been wonderful. Our bids have come in amazingly well, all the way through. But I guess my question is, with it not being required in every circumstance, is there going to be those optics out there if one time a department chooses to utilize that, because it fits the criteria, so we choose local preference, and the next time that opportunity comes up, maybe another department or a department does it 2 different ways, they choose not to. Are we going to get kickback from the public saying, now wait a minute, competitive bidding is to keep you from getting to pick and choose what you want? We see this as the possibility of people saying, well, you're picking and choosing. Do you have concerns about that? We have concerns about that.
I mean, I guess I would have a little bit more concern if we weren't disclosing the usage of local preference on the front end of the bid. If it just became this tool that we would use once picking the bid, that would be different. But when we're crafting the RFP.
So what is the criteria that we'd be utilizing or asking staff to utilize, I guess, so that they weren't perceived, not that you would be, but not that we weren't all perceived, I guess, as picking and choosing, like maybe not this one because we just think this is a bid that we've done business with someone for years, it's been come in well, and have the appearance of those types of things. What is the criteria? See, and this is part of my problem with this all is too, I know it wasn't completely vetted in the policy review because there is no form, we don't have a matrix, we don't have a format, we haven't heard that discussion, those types of things. So to me, it's not clearly identified yet, the administration of it or how we do it, or I even know when we put in the resolution was for effective today. It was like, I don't think enough of the design of it or the mechanics of it, whatever, that is clear enough so that if someone were to bid tomorrow, we could have it in place today and then say, well, this is how we're gonna do it, this is how we're gonna administrate it, or this is what we want staff to do, or how does staff wanna do it, I guess. Those kinds of discussions. And that's just me, I know, like I said, going through that food and beverage one was a learning experience for me and how long it took, but there was so much more than I even imagined, but it was health department was very helpful, Amanda was very helpful in working through what that form, needed to look like so everybody was comfortable and we weren't negatively impacting the departments as conservation and health that already were using food and beverage in their operations for different events, those types of things. And I just think where they say the devil's in the details, I think it is. It comes back to bite us if we aren't very clear or very prepared, I guess, for what this does. Now, I think I've made it pretty clear. I'm not sure. I'm 100% supporting of local, and I think everyone on this board is. That's not it. And to say it's part of our strategic plan doesn't mean that we still won't support economic development and that this local preference is tied to that. I understand what you're saying is it's an opportunity to look at it, and that's why when you brought it up, it was like it's come up over the years many times, and and it never hurts to vet it again or look at it or see if it can be tweaked or we could be flexible. But as we had, like I say, that conversation that we had, and I was so appreciative that he came in. We had a business that was supportive or very interested in it because he felt he'd lost a couple of bids, and he'd received many of the projects that we'd done, but there were a couple he was concerned about. And at that time I said to him, the last thing I want to do is see us create something that appears or has the appearance that we're really assisting local businesses when we maybe aren't, because there aren't that many opportunities that we're losing in that sense from a local community standpoint. But that we are negatively impacting our relationship with other vendors or, you know, anyone that we have relationships with, negatively impacting the county in that we're tying up people with administrative work that we didn't have done before. And those relationships, the work, the impact to taxpayers, there is a cost to taxpayers if we're not gonna take low bids, low, reasonable, responsible bids. And I, even starting with that, when I read this and it starts out that, and unless otherwise stated in this policy, when competitive quotes or competitive bids are utilized, the lowest reasonable responsible quote and bid should be accepted. But our exception is local, otherwise that it should be, and then we're saying no. And I had some questions for Mike, I guess he mentions in here too, about the cost being relatively equal when it's 3% and 5%, and I was like, says who, kind of a thing. That was someone's chosen numbers, but we've got a lot of words in here that are relatively equal and some preference and may purchase and those types of things that to me put us in awkward situations when they're not clear, but
I think relatively equal is very clear. I mean, it is specifically spelled out here.
So if I may comment briefly on this, just because I want to make sure I understand what Linda's concerns are, both about fully vetting and about what would potentially be an application matrix here. So number one, this was intentionally left up to the departments whether to do this. So there wasn't going to be a matrix per se as to this is where local preference applies, this is where it doesn't. Now, having a matrix as to bidding in general, because there are a lot of different cost categorizations and other things, that makes sense. But as for local preference, that was intentionally left out of it on that. With respect to the using things as some consideration, relatively equal, that kind of spoke to the policy behind it, because, you give some, you don't give it outright consideration. There are parameters, and we set up the parameters, or this policy was set up to contain those parameters as to when local preference could be employed and when it could not, based upon those percentage differences. So I only say that just to make sure that we're clear as to why it was worded the way it was at the time it was drafted. That's not to say, it's good, bad, or different. I just wanted to explain why it was worded the way it was. The only other thing I wanted to mention is that even if the board decides this isn't the time to pass a local preference policy, I think we should pass the change to the initial paragraph where we say, unless otherwise stated in this policy, when competitive bids or when competitive quotes or competitive bids are utilized, the lowest reasonable responsive quote, bid, or proposal should be accepted. I think that sentence should be added to this. There's also a paragraph that on my copy here is on the bottom of the first page. If you still have the color-coded one, it's in blue for Iowa preference. I think that should, it actually goes on to the second page as well. I think that should also be passed. And finally, near the end where there's a paragraph S, or at the end, I should say, that was added where it states no confidentiality upon award or winning bid. That also should be added just to clarify that it is at that point that we don't consider that to be confidential anymore, even if there was an expectation of confidentiality during the bidding process. We can discuss whether that should ever be the case as well. But the problem is you will sometimes have that expectation unilaterally on the part of the bidder, no matter what notice you give them about confidentiality.
Well, I did wonder about that a little bit, Mike, just because of some of the meetings we've had and the sessions we've had where we discuss different things, whether it's the sheriff's office or IT related, some of those confidentiality things. I just wanted to be sure. When you mentioned that, it was like that. Those things can all be disclosed at that point.
Well, and they have to be discussed in open session. in most every case. So, and we put them on notice of that fact, when a bid is solicited.
Oh, I'm fine with it, if that's, I just wanted to
But
be
yeah,
sure, when you, I saw you had that added,
Yep.
and I just thought, just for clarity.
That had been requested by one of the departments, I believe. But I just wanted to make sure that if there is a snag in the other, or I shouldn't call it a snag, I should say, if you don't want that one, or if you're not ready for a local preference, it would still make sense to put these other preferences. The reason the Iowa preference should be in there is that's statutorily required as a policy. And there's been some prior discussion about that.
So criteria wise, yeah, never mind, yeah, thank you. I was gonna say, I felt really bad that three of us, like, as I mentioned to you, didn't hear some of these comments or have some of the input from staff at sessions, and I still feel bad that we weren't able to do that, but appreciate any comments for today, thank you.
Rory Giving, Facilities Director. It is reassuring to know that, if this is passed, and we do see that we have reduced competition, we get to a point where we're not receiving the bids that we think we should, that the board is willing to look at those case by case. That was one of my biggest concerns, because we have had situations where we felt like it was challenging just to get a bid on a project. So it is reassuring for me anyway to know that the board is willing to look at this at a case by case basis. And if it does come up with being an issue, we will definitely keep track of that. And if we start seeing something that is working against what we feel would be in our best interest, we would definitely inform you and let you know. So
I appreciate that. I do hate the fact, though, that once you put something in place, trying to undo it or make it clear to everyone that, sorry, we didn't get the intended circumstances, so we reverse it. I don't like that idea, so that would be something I wouldn't want to do. If I thought it would help us in any, and we had the time, I would like to see us maybe take the time to, on the front end of looking at this, or kind of taking a look at how many projects we are losing or why we're losing them. And is it because of would local preference be helpful, would it not?
That would be some voodoo math. Like, there's just no way to know.
Well,
you couldn't possibly know what local entities are not applying. They're not putting in a bid for business because they feel like they're at a disadvantage and aren't gonna waste the time. Like, there's just no way for us to get to that number. We would be doing math for the sake of doing math and kicking a can down the road for the sake of kicking.
So why would locals feel that they're at a disadvantage?
If they felt like they couldn't provide, they were gonna be outbid.
Well, can't they all have that feeling? I mean, they all know
But
it's a
you're
possibility.
saying we should see data, we should look back at data and see how many.
No, I don't wanna go back and look and do it. I just meant, as we've seen in the last 2 years, we said there was the one case that came up that we did, and unfortunate, as it would have been, maybe not unfortunate, I was gonna say depending on, but, I did go back and take a look, just, that one particularly was easy to look at, but I went back a few years and just looked at, pavement markings for 22, 23, 24, and 25.
Yeah.
In 22, there were 4 that bid. Let me see, in 23, there were 4 that bid. In 24, there were 4 that bid, and in 25, we had 6 that bid. But I said, when you started looking at the bids that we would lose, because we will lose bidders. I mean, obviously, if you look at a bid and you've been putting hard work and thought into how low you can get this bid for the taxpayers, for us, and you know that you will lose 5% to a low, and you know the landscape of our community, and there's a local bidder here. You know that they will get 5% right off the bat. So your number's gotta come in lower than that, so whether or not you want to invest your time and energy to make that bid is up to you.
And you see this example in Lynn County or Johnson County?
Do I see what example?
Of folks not submitting a bid in Lynn or Johnson.
No, I don't mean that you'd always know who wasn't. I meant that we're losing, that our locals aren't encouraged to do it, but that they're coming in at lesser, you're saying. That they just know that they can't make the bid. And so they're
I'm saying, we don't know.
investing time or effort, is what you're saying.
I'm saying, but the same way that an argument, from what I've heard, right, that your argument has sort of been, well, we might lose bidders.
I'd say it's a good chance we will. Not even we might, we probably will.
Is that based from the examples of Lynn and Johnson County who already have this policy and who've said that they haven't lost bidders? So they haven't lost bidders, but we would.
Their market could be different than ours. That's not something that's the same. We can't all look at those things the same as we can. Like I said, when I look at these, the 6 bidders, we had 1 that was in the 6 this year. There was 1 local. Let's see, there was 1 local in 24. There was no locals in 23, and there doesn't have the location, so let me see, I'm gonna come in here. And I don't think there were any locals then either, but we know we have a local bidder that could have. So no, there's no way to evaluate who might have done it, because any of these look at their workload and whether they want to do it and whether it's worth their time and energy and staff for it before they ever do a bid. But I'm saying that when we look at all of these costs involved, if you're a bidder, and you will know that the locals are going to get that, so I would bid other projects, as you probably would as well. You're not gonna spend the time on it. We've had, well, it's meant for professional services, who said, we are too busy, we don't have the time and the energy to do some of these bids. Now, I think that happens too. They've got work up, and so they have plenty of work, they don't need the bid, so it's not gonna go to locals. But that's digressing a little bit. I didn't mean to get off track, just that I think there is so much more that needs to be, I know we'll probably lose bids. I know this will hurt relationships, working relationships that have been in place for years.
Know or believe?
No, I can't say I know, not for this community, I apologize. I think the danger is that, I think when I followed up with ones that have used it as well, and I need to talk to some others specifically, I guess, or if you wanna go to specific counties, because I didn't think we had a lot of that history from others, other than they've had it and it's not, because many are saying that several are saying, I won't say many, that it hasn't made a difference for them because it hasn't given the locals any benefit because it's not used. That was really what Dubuque said, we rarely see it. And that's because our locals do such a great job, number one, and it's not something they look, some put local preference in place a few years ago, I think as a way to, like you say, support economic development or the community. I don't want to see us do something just to be symbolic. I want to know it's substantial and making a difference. And as I said to the businessman that was in, I want it to benefit businesses. If this is such an important thing that we do it to change a policy or make a policy for it, I'd like to know it benefits businesses and you see real value. I'd like to know taxpayers see a value and that the county is not in any way detrimentally impacted, whether it's relationships, bidders, projects, just any of those kinds of things. I said when we start to look at that, some of the questions he brought up was then, okay, we have businesses, he said, with locations or a warehouse or a office space. And he didn't like the fact that those people would be given the same preference. He said, well, we're paying more taxes or we have more people here. And those types of policies probably are created in some places. I'm not sure we know of any, but it's not been anywhere. Did Lynn or Johnson, either one, say it's helped them grow their community? It's helped support their businesses. Because they're taxpayers too. That was my question too, or not question, a comment that was like, they are taxpayers as well. They're employees, everyone else that looks to us to make the most mileage out of their tax dollars as we can as well. So in effect, we are still working for them, still trying to help them. When you attract businesses to a community. That's one of the things locals look at. They know the tax rate is where they're looking and where can they get the most mileage when they locate here. And we're always, the economic development folks, as you know, are always being kind of, what are the taxes? Yeah. So I see it twofold in that sense, that is part of what we're trying to do and yet support them. I found that Waterloo, just looking at locally, the city of Waterloo doesn't have a local preference policy. The city of Cedar Falls does, and I thought this, I'll share it just because I thought this was very interesting. Local preference, and it's added in their bidding policy too. In cases where 2 or more bids, formal or informal, are equal in all aspects, preference shall be given to the local, in parentheses, Cedar Falls business bidder. So, all aspects, not any preferences, not any. In cases where 2 or more bids, formal or informal, are equal in all aspects, preference shall be given to the Iowa vendor if one of the equal is not Cedar Falls. So looking at that. So, just that there are so many different ways of people utilizing them, but you still never hear, and I doubt it probably is used that often, there is a local preference initially put into their plan. But, so they could say local preference, and that's the other thing I said to Troy, it was just like, the last thing I wanna see us do is say, we created a policy and say we have local preference, and you go, yeah, but nobody can use it, or nobody's benefiting from it. And then say like, okay, how do we do that, or what?
And I'll admit, when I put some of this language together, that was the reason for the relative equal and the definition therein. Because I didn't wanna just give lip service. The likelihood of 2 bids coming in at the exact, if we're going low bid, at exact same dollar amounts, well, that's nonsense, right? And that's where this conversation of 5% or 3%, depending on that, that quote number, that's where that came in, was to make sure that it had teeth. I agree, that policy, that example of the policy, of course, isn't gonna be enacted very often because the likelihood that 2 bids are gonna come in at the exact same dollar amount is
Now, if you define their area, which I don't know if it's something we've ever considered too, but they stated that their area was 20 miles outside the county. I assume they might have done that for a reason, but I never asked. They just said they aren't using it much anymore because locals do such a good job of what they do, so.
I can say just having grown up in Dubuque, that it's really viewed as like the tri-state area. Where it's, we're called the Cedar Valley, but that's a really distinct kind of economic hub that people are going back and forth between all of the areas.
I mean, the concept sounds good, and when we're already looking at having Iowa preference, I don't know that we use a lot of coal that's produced in Iowa yet, we'll look at Iowa preference.
Straight out of code on that one.
Right. My bigger concern is the discussion we had at the work session about on the construction costs. Knowing that we have contractors from the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area as well, I see it could go either way in some of this, and it's a little discouraging on how it might apply to certain contractors in our construction. My bigger concern is the unrest I feel from the department heads on either, I think the first time I heard it was either make us do it or don't do it. So, again, Linda made the comment, it's great to have something, but if nobody's gonna use it, I personally have concerns about being used in construction. But is there smaller things that could be used on? I know we got limits when it comes to roads with the DOT requirements. So it almost is very funneled down to what it really could be used for.
It can't apply to chapter 26 or any federal procurement situations or DOT procurement situations.
So would that include even the road striping or the?
I don't believe that was DOT, but Kathy,
Sure. Kathy Nicholas, engineer. So as been stated, everything that's led through the Iowa DOT, primarily federal funds, state funds, but also when we're using our local option sales tax funds to match our FM funds or what have you, if it's led through the Iowa DOT, then of course we have to follow their rules and regulations. And right now that obviously is awarding to the low bidder. For projects where we are doing pavement markings or even seal coating or crack sealing, those projects that we are using the local option sales tax funding to, yes, I see that these would be subject to this policy. We are letting them locally, so we would be following this policy. Also, we purchase a lot of stuff, a lot of replacement parts, equipment parts, all sorts of stuff that we would be looking to this policy for. I like the policy more than I did when we first started talking about it. I think collectively we've had some really good input into it. To me, it does seem still arbitrary, but I have managed to get my head around that. That's always been difficult for us in the engineer's office. We are so strict by DOT policy. We know that contractors don't take risks, they price risk, so of course we are setting everything very clear, as clear as we can to a contractor. But that is not necessarily, that is not the same thing as what we are purchasing when we buy a fuel filter, for example. So, it is probably, we don't have to be as strict, as clear cut as we are with some of these smaller purchases. So I have, while it's getting me out of my comfort zone, I do like the policy better. It does seem still a bit arbitrary to me, and then we also had some concerns in our office about if we were to have to report on this, if we are recording all of our purchases, is that what you want us to do? Do you want us to keep track of all the purchases, and are we soliciting local vendors? Or more clarification on that would be helpful to us.
Well, those are the kind of things I think we look to staff typically for that. I mean, quite honestly, once again, you are staff that are the experts. You know the policies better than any of us. You've worked with them for years. You know the vendors, you know the contractors, I should say, the good relationships, the bad ones, the bidders that we have, the problems that we have had and encountered. You're very familiar, all of you, with that. We're not. So I don't know if, and I know you think this has gone on rather long already. Yeah, I do too. I thought food and beverage did as well, but you see it through if you want to see it done. So I don't know, I guess, well, I'm not comfortable with this as is, to say that you work more on it, or at least allow more discussion on it, or you're just ready to get
I'm
done
down for
with it?
discussion if there's specific questions, specific things needed. I am not down for discussion for the sake of discussion.
No.
And at times, this board can get a little bit, let's talk about it, and never get to what do you want to see in order to get to a yes. If it's just let's talk about it so I can continue to say no, a little less than interested. I mean, we do have a motion and a second. I'm intending to, unless the motion were to get pulled, I'm intending to at least have us take a vote on it. But I think if there are specific changes that folks want and are looking for, that would be one thing.
I can't point to those and say it is, because I'd say right now I'm not supportive of it as it is. And that's not the Iowa preference in some of those peripheral kind of areas. That's why I'm saying to you, it hasn't been done for years for more reasons than just because we haven't taken a look at it and thought about doing it, or that it was just impossible to do. I think we all knew we could put something in if we wanted to, as we still can. I mean, anytime, depending on what it would say. As we saw in other entities that put in language that's local preference, but without monetary value, the taxpayers then don't, it doesn't cost the taxpayers.
We can say it's also without teeth.
Well, that's what I mean, you're doing symbolic types of things, and sometimes that's what happens too, if it doesn't benefit. So,
My bigger concern is if there's that much concern from the staff in using it, I don't want them going through with bid projects and then not use it and then saying, well, why didn't you? It's their call. To me, again, that's the construction side and the unrest with the department heads is my concern. If I didn't hear specific other than Mike and some other small conversations during one of the department head meetings or policy board meetings, if there is problems and the board or the department heads feel that there is concern with it, bring it to me. I will have no problem bringing forward and saying we need to change this because it's costing us. Right now, I have my reservations, but again, it comes to the department heads to tell us otherwise.
and I'd align much on that, just that because they are the experts and have all the knowledge and the work relationships, if there had been a problem, any of the one of them, that they would have not only met with each other, they would have brought it to our attention to say, there's a problem here with our locals never getting bids, or we need to look at it or examine it. They wouldn't see us continually losing local contracts and not recognizing issues or concerns or something. Or the I'm not sure how many of the actual vendors, the contractors, approach them. They don't me, they haven't me over the years and say, hey, you needed to do this. Or why aren't we getting these bids, or there's a problem with local people here not getting bids. I'm just not ever getting that, and I do, feel the respect of the staff too, that they would have brought it to our attention.
I mean, I certainly respect the staff as well. I believe that our department heads are leaders. I believe that we as elected officials are also leaders. And I think that we've gotten to a point where we've got some good discussions. To Kathy's point, right, like initially was more hesitant on this, was really constructive in, how do what happens in this, what happens in this, what happens in this, and has helped craft a stronger policy. But I don't think it's just up to department heads to propose changes to policy.
No, you can propose, I don't mean that, I just meant though that that's really why we vet processes, policies.
And as we discussed it a few weeks, maybe a month ago, that's one of the tricks to policy review versus policy creation, is that we're asking folks to make a decision on some level for us when it comes to policy creation. It is a thing that we've got to do as a board. It's not quite fair to ask staff to craft some of this stuff when it's really up to our discretion.
I just want to jump in here for a second. Tavis, thanks for putting all that time into crafting all this, because there's a ton that went into that. And then Mike and Rory, thank you guys for standing up too and just kind of putting in your input. Because I think that's important too. So I would encourage anybody else, if they had anything else to say, to offer that as well. I guess simply, I question though, how necessary is the policy? Is it something that we could put into practice using local preference without policy? Like this is just something that we would consider doing without being tied to all of the words in that policy? Or would that be dangerous?
Kick that over, Mike.
Yeah, Supervisor Brandt, the concern I have about what you suggest is that while our existing policy allows some discretion based on references, based upon knowledge based on prior performance and things like that, when we say lowest responsive bid, we really mean anyone that is a legitimate bidder. And And so that does not enable us to make that judgment call based on the locality of the bidder, but rather based upon the price, the actual bid itself and what it contains, and whether that bid proposes something that realistically accomplishes what the county's trying to accomplish in that project. It does not go to the location of the bidder, whether the bidder participates in the Blackhawk County economy.
Okay.
Alright. Well, I'll go ahead and call the question here. We've got a motion and a second on the resolution. Roll call, please.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland,
You're supporting the entirety? No.
Schwartz,
Yes. Yes.
Brant,
No.
Paul.
Yes. Motion carries. Item 9D, discussion of possible board action for Loomly subscription renewal from Gabby DeWitt.
Hello, board. Loomly is a social media scheduler that we've been using since September 2024. When I first started as marketing coordinator, I reviewed about 17 platforms. Previously with public health, we had used Sprout Social, which is kind of the Cadillac of programs, but only allowed one, at the time, only allowed one user and was quite a bit more expensive. So we tried to find one that had the same features as Sprout Social, but was a little more affordable. And I know when we talk about this, the marketing budget is a lot different than some of these other bigger budgets for other departments. But the plan that we chose in 2024 was for $1,700. I did get a notification that when it renews on September 17th, it will increase by $1,200. So that's almost double. And so I wanted to make sure and bring it in front of the board. I actually, in the marketing budget, have space to accommodate this because I had heard rumors that Canva, which is another subscription that we have, was going to increase, and it didn't. So we have that flexibility, but I did want to talk a little bit about the benefits of Loomly. We're able to provide alt text, which we're going to talk about a little bit later as far as accessibility. When we schedule, we can label posts so we can review analytics. And the efficiencies have been really big. We've been working with, I keep saying we, I've been working with Roads and Conservation to have posts that are in the library so that, say, if the road crew is out and there's a snow-covered road, instead of just adding text to social media, they can pull down the image and do it, and it's a little bit more visible, a little bit more user-friendly, people engage with it more. Same with conservation, when the parks were closed due to flooding, we just had a series of graphics already ready to go so that they could drop them in and just make the post look a little more polished. For elections, when we did the general, it was much more streamlined because we were able to put every race in draft and then just plug in the numbers rather than typing in all of the races as we go. So some of those efficiencies have been really great. When we originally did the plan, it was 14 users and 35 social accounts. That plan is no longer available. The next plan down, now if we did not continue going forward, the next plan down would only allow 3 users. We currently have 12 users and 23 social accounts. The increase, like I said, is $12.88 to be specific. It allows unlimited users and up to 60 accounts, which we're not trying to do. If anything, we'd like less accounts. But having those extra users is helpful because then more people have the ability to schedule social media posts and keep us active on social media. So as I said, there is the space in the marketing budget. I do recommend staying with Loomly. However, we'll watch it and see if this increase is something that happens. We'll kind of look at those platforms again and see if there's something else that we'd like to go with. But right now, it's been very beneficial for us across departments. Any questions?
I'll offer a motion to approve.
Hey, Gabby,
Yes?
is there anything competitive to that right now? As a contingency plan?
Yes, so when I was looking back over my spreadsheet, and again, that was from 2024, so I haven't done any pricing comparisons to see if other platforms have gone up. There were a couple that were within that current price of $1,700, but I would have to go back and look and see if they're maintaining that price point. And then we would have to switch all of our accounts over. So it's not impossible, but I think there are a couple that are still around that price point.
You'd also have, depending on users and account and socials, that you might have those caps even within that spreadsheet.
Exactly, yeah, yes, each is different as far as how many social accounts they allow, how their calendars work, like some of them will only allow you, for example, public health has a couple Facebook accounts, and there's some that are comparable in price, but they're in their calendar, they will only allow you certain, so you get one Facebook, one YouTube, one Instagram, kind of like that. And so for public health, that wouldn't work because they have their main Facebook, but then they also have the ones that the community health workers use to engage the communities that don't speak English. So then they have like 3 Facebook accounts, and that wouldn't work in those platforms. So it'd be a matter of going back to the drawing board to see what we have and what we need and what would work with what our needs are.
This renewal will always take some time around this
Yes,
time
yep.
of year. I'm supportive.
I was just curious as well. Thank you.
I'd definitely be mindful going into next year's.
Right.
To maybe refresh some of those quotes just in the event that they come back with, I mean, that's a pretty large increase in their platform. Hopefully that's a one-time hit, but if it is just a drip.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this was budgeted already?
Yes, so I had heard rumors that Canva was the one that was going to have the big jump. So in the budget, I built that in. We've already renewed Canva for this fiscal year, and it did not adjust. So we do have that room in the budget.
And we're looking about $1,700, you said?
So $1,700 is the current subscription price. It's going up by $12.88, which I believe makes it around $2,900. I guess I didn't write that down on my notes, but I believe it's around $2,900.
That's what we're actually.
That's what would, if it renews on September 17th, that would be the cost.
$250 a month, yes.
Yeah, $2,988.
Alright, thought I heard a motion.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
I don't have a second yet.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Don't go too far.
No.
9E, digital communication, discussion, digital communication accessibility, requirements.
Thanks, Al. Very good. Thank you. Okay, I want to start this conversation by saying I'm not an expert. I'm not even close to an expert, but I did want to get the accessibility conversation on your radar so that you know what's coming up. When Nate was here, he was saying, "Oh, I didn't even know this was a thing." That's why I want to make sure that everyone knows and is expecting it. So one of the reasons, and this is not new news, why do we think about accessibility? Well, 1 in 4 adults, using CDC data, 1 in 4 adults report having some type of disability. And so accessibility is about removing barriers to allow users to engage and participate in everyday activities. This is something that we already do very well. If you look at some of the new renovations that we have for physical, we have counter cutouts to accommodate for wheelchairs. We have automatic doors, we have ramps, better accessibility in bathrooms. But now there's some new guidelines that are going to elevate the digital communications and our accessibility needs for that. Some of the benefits, though, of accessibility when it comes to digital communication is it does allow us to reach more people, improves our SEO because we have alt text on a lot of images, and our documents are accessible so that if somebody's searching for something, hopefully it would bring it up more frequently in their search. Protects us against legal risk, which I know Mike isn't a fan of, and builds trust and reputation. So the new accessibility guidelines, this actually went into effect in 2024, and I had started hearing about it towards the end of 2024, but we were also having conversations about our website, going to RFP for our website, so I wasn't too concerned, but because of our size of Blackhawk County, which is greater than 50,000, excuse me, that's the threshold, we have to have our plan or compliance in place by April 24th, 2026. And the point of it is to make sure that our digital communications across the website, across social media, are accessible to everyone who needs it. So the 4 principles of the, I think they call it WCAG, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce the acronym, but the 4 principles that the content must be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. A lot of the things that we have on our website and that our other departments have on their website, it's built in for accessibility. The difference, and I meant to mention this before, the difference between the law going into effect in 2024 and now is before it was considered best practice and it was considered voluntary. But now that it is a law, it is there are potential for fines if we don't comply. But so a lot of the bones of our websites, if I look back, a lot of them do already adhere to the WCAG guidelines, but perceivable just means that users must be able to identify content and through using whatever senses they use to receive the content. Operable means that the controls have to work for them. So if you're tabbing through headings, if you are using maybe a site navigation tool versus using your hand on a mouse, that your website will operate seamlessly for that user. And then understandable content has to be basically understood, and robust, it has to go across the assistive technology that people might use. And so our current situation is that we have 5 websites, 6 if you count emergency management, Blackhawk County Conservation, My County Parks, that's state, and so I'm sure they are working on that, but part of that will be us reaching out and making sure that they are, and then Hartman Reserve also has their own website. Behind in the parentheses is the platform of which the website is being operated on, and then the areas of improvement that are kind of the biggest ones that people are worried about or are working on are making sure that the documents are accessible. The Blackhawk County website, the Civic Plus website, has over 500 PDFs that are currently active. There are exceptions to this rule, and one of them is if you have an archived document that is no longer forward-facing, is no longer material that is engaged with, you don't have to make that accessible. But you do have to make the ones that are accessible or that are front-facing accessible. But there are no error-free sites. So when I first started losing sleep about this, I was thinking, how are we going to have all of these websites and be 100% compliant? There's no error-free websites. It's a fluid measurement. So really, it's just making sure that we're as prepared as we can be. And that's this quote that I found in a webinar that I was watching. It's not a feature. It's not just purchasing a plugin. It's a process, and it has to be a culture for the entire county. No one, including myself, is an expert in-house, but we can do our best to become experts in our content to make sure that we are making it accessible. We can integrate accessibility planning and reviews into future web development, but also go back and look at our pages, which ones are the most used, and making sure that those highest use pages get addressed first. And we don't have to be 100% perfect by April 2026, but we do have to have a plan in place to show how we are working towards it. And if there is a document that we've overlooked, how will we make that accessible to the person who contacts us about it? So some recommendations, creating an accessibility plan. As I said, the Department of, what's the J stand for? The DOJ ruling does not mean that we have to be 100% compliance, but we do need a plan for compliance. So a plan should include adding an accessibility line item, so we know that we are doing things to make our websites more robust, that we are doing things, whether it's having a retainer or a plugin, if it's something that we've vetted that would help with our accessibility. Auditing our current content, auditing our social media content creation and how that happens to make sure that it is also accessible. And then a training plan for everyone who creates content, scheduled maintenance. One of the problems with plugins is that then people put it onto their website but then think that that's it. But we really do have to go in and manually keep track of the content that's on your website and continuously monitor accessibility pain points in the website. And then the opportunity to engage an outside vendor, somebody who actually is an expert. I've had Mike look at a retainer with a company. I do want to check some references first before I make any recommendations. But the thing that I like about this particular vendor is that it's not a plugin that's expensive and based on our number of pages, but it's more about teaching the person to fish, right? It's training us to be better at accessibility, training our legal team on how to respond if and when we get a claim about accessibility, and then just making us better at having accessible communications. And then also engaging local stakeholder feedback. We need to find people who use assistive devices and help reach out to them to see where some of the pain points that maybe we're overlooking because we're not using assistive devices are in our website. That's it. I don't know how to.
Can you go back?
Sure.
Before you jump off the screen?
Yep. Far back. How about?
To the list of websites. There you go. So right now, so if we get a fine, that ultimately comes back to the county. It doesn't go to the individual department, right? That is a county, we are fine. It actually kind of makes me start to think a little bit about, is there benefit in consolidating?
Well, and that's a conversation we've had as part of the website committee when we were talking about the potential of going to RFP. There's features that everybody likes in their particular platform, so we would want to make sure that if we were to go to a new platform, that it's one that meets the features that they need, especially for updating content. If you look at each of these websites, with the exception of the conservation, because that one occurred to me this morning on the way in. But when you look at the different websites, if you go to the bottom, they all have accessibility statements. They all, the sheriff's in particular, their accessibility statement is quite good. And so there are things probably, especially with the Civic Plus website, that we could look at to the sheriff and potentially Neapolitan elections and see how, like what they're doing and make the Blackhawk County page better. But that is something that we've talked about. The problem is, and of course we never want to rush into completely changing a website, but this April 26th deadline is coming quick. And so even if we were to go to RFP, consolidate all of our websites and go to one, it won't be ready by April 2026, and then we are subject to claims against our current website. And so We need to start this process more robustly than me watching webinars to make sure that we are ready, we have this plan, so that in the event we want to go to RFP for a different website, we know that the content we have is ready to go and able to meet the claims for the WCAG guidelines.
Yeah, and I definitely meant it not as a, should we talk about a more consolidated website plan? Not because of this, but this as one of the factors and potential benefits of evaluating a full site versus evaluating 5 sites.
For sure.
And that is our exposure.
Yeah, and I think I wasn't involved with the VGM Foreman, the Neapolitan. I do remember when Blackhawk County rebranded and used an organization to do their page. And part of that was the Civic Plus was just hard to work with and update and make it look the way we want it to look. And so I think that's where some of that came from. But yeah, I think if we were to go to RFP, one of the things we would want is a user interface that allows, that is as easy to work with as some of the ones that the current departments are using. Any questions I can answer? I just wanted I'm not asking for any action, obviously it's a discussion, but I really just wanted it to be on your radar. I actually sent an email over to City of Waterloo to see, I'm sure they're already on top of it because they're also a municipality greater than 50,000. But it's just something that I've heard a lot in my communications groups, but I hadn't heard a lot around here. And so I wanted to make sure that that you knew about it and that our deadline is looming.
What's the next steps then?
So the next steps goes to creating an accessibility plan, like how we will address the needs that we have in our different websites, training for sure for people who create content, because there are people who create content for these other websites that I'm not involved with, and then coming up with a process for if you were to call me and say, hey, my screen reader won't read this PDF because it's not an accessible PDF, while also fixing that PDF, how will we get them the information that they need? And having that plan in place will greatly help us against any claims that we might receive.
Timeline, next step.
Yeah, that's a good question. This is September. I would like to see us for sure have a plan in place by the end of the year and also start with some training so that then we're kind of doing some overhaul. To me, it's an audit of our website, which pages are our highest hit pages, and starting there because you want to make sure the ones that people are going to the most frequently are the ones that will stand up against that scrutiny and then work our way back. And also looking to see how much old stuff do we have on the website that maybe doesn't even need to be there. When I was talking to Civic Plus about PDF remediation, which is very expensive, her recommendation was, well, first go through your website. You probably don't need 500 PDFs right now. Some of them are outdated. So if you archive them and if there's a list of 4 things for exceptions. If they were created before April 2026, if they are no longer of service. So think of maybe an election report from several years back. If they are in a place where you keep archived content, and then there's a fourth criteria, then it does not have to be made to be accessible. It can live there, and then if somebody requests it, we can get it to them. But if it's on our website and it's in a place like on the home page and it's out of date, it's something that we still use, say like a policy that was created in 21-22, but it is still an active policy, then we need to make sure that that PDF is accessible and available to people who use different technology.
Karen, looking at some of the election stuff in particular, imagining that it probably wouldn't hold up to some of the scrutiny. I'm assuming there's gonna be have to be some switch over of how those documents are created and moving. You said the past ones aren't as big of an infraction, it's
Right.
more about moving
Going forward.
forward.
So having a plan, for example, those PDFs are usually documents that are scanned in. One thing we could do is link to the Secretary of State website, or we can have a process where when you're scanning them in, you are making that an accessible PDF before you're posting it on the website.
I love the idea of budget line, right, to keep it front and center.
I
for
will,
us.
not only front and center, but it just shows a commitment to it, where before, Michelle and I were kind of talking about it, and she was like, well, it kind of, it could fall here, it could fall here, it could fall here, but by actually putting it on there, then one of the guidance that I did receive, and I can't remember from who I was speaking with, they said that alone shows, that you have a commitment to it.
And Gabby, one of the immediate next step is to kind of continue communication with this one vendor that provides these training services that we've been talking about.
Exactly. I wanted, before, I originally had the name of the vendor on the recommendations, but I really want to check references. I know one organization or city that they worked with that checked some references and first before, but Mike's reviewed the retainer. The nice thing is, at a government nonprofit rate, basically it would be a retainer of training, so that train content creators, train legal staff on how to respond to claims, and then also look at our plan. Is it robust enough? Are there things that we're missing? Are there pages that we could just look, and you can just use it as we go through. And speaking of budget, there is a professional services line item in the marketing budget that we would have space for that through this fiscal year. And then if it's something that we enjoy working with this company and find it valuable, then maybe we can work with some of the other departments that also have website that can contribute to that. Any other questions?
Do you need anything else from us?
No, just, this was just an FYI to begin with.
Let us know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Item 10, any reports or information from the board?
I want to bring up, we had a request for this Saturday, I believe it's the 6th, 3 o'clock. They have a World War II anniversary memorial that's going on at 3 o'clock at the Veterans Hall. I did volunteer for it, but they have one spot that's open from one of the Board of Supervisors. I didn't know what process was, if the chair was. I know Justin also had interest in it. Being a veteran, I have no problem. I plan on being there either way, but Justin, if you want to be the presenter or someone else, we just need to have someone turn in who's going to be the reader for this.
I am out of town that day, but.
Yeah, I'm fine with Justin or Richie.
Justin, you up for it?
Yeah, I'm planning on being there. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate you doing it. We did say you just wanted one individual, so
Yeah.
it's great that, please.
Well, let him know that Justin's looking at being the reader then.
And there are events related to that going from late morning, I think it starts at 10:45 all the way through till late afternoon. For what it's worth, I just pulled up a website here on it.
The second thing is I am following through with doing a town hall with the township trustees and clerks. Tentative date is the 15th, looking at a spot. I believe Justin's gonna be joining me for this, meeting with the folks. If any of the departments want time to visit with some of these folks, please let me know. I'm looking at trying to get everything locked in yet the next couple of days and getting that out for the press and to the townships. Last thing is, I do want staff to know, with my concerns with this policy, it is optional. If you're uncomfortable with it, don't use it. If you're comfortable with it, great. If there's problems with it, bring it back to us and we'll deal with it. If it needs to be adjusted or changed, with my concerns with it, I approved it because it is. Use it as you feel comfortable with.
It's a quick follow-up to our community funding process. I know that Michelle, I believe Michelle and Lori, we're gonna sort of go through and make sure that folks that were through it were reviewing the appropriate applicants. Do you have a timeline of when?
I think we should be through that this week,
Okay.
so, I don't know if you want to, I don't know how much time you want to review them, and maybe you already have them.
I haven't started because I wasn't, I was sort of waiting for sort of the thumbs up from you all, so if you can, maybe send around the grading criteria and all of that good fun stuff, whenever you all have had a chance to make sure that everybody's good to go, then I would think, what, 3 weeks, maybe even 30, maybe 30 days to review it, and then we come back beginning of October to, so that would put us, well, that would put us, I guess, at October 7th to have a deadline for, 30 days from when Michelle sends out the list, the metric, the scoring rubric. And then, but somewhere around that first, maybe middle part of October, hopefully have those back and get those compiled. And that can help facilitate the discussion. We'll probably want to do a work session prior to that to say, all right, once we get all of our scores in, then what's the next steps? And we do have quite a number of applicants. Community need this year, especially.
Thursday, we do have the ribbon cutting for the VA. And prior to that, 9 AM, we are asked to be here for administrative wing renovation meeting kickoff with Roy. Roy, what, that downstairs?
Yeah, the new conference room in the basement.
Okay. Do we need to put a meeting notice up for that since we're all supposed to be here?
Yeah.
And that will be decision-making. Or,
Will it be,
yeah.
Mike, can you weigh in on that? I'm sorry.
Rory?
What's that
You were
now?
jotting, I didn't.
No. As long as there's no deliberation, and I realize this is what I always say, it's really, really important that there not be discussions about items that could be a concern, but I don't think there's a problem with the board being there, as long as the board is, if you get questions from anybody who happens to be there about an matter.
That's what this meeting's about, is asking for our input. If I understood that right, Rory.
Well, yeah, and I misspoke too. We are having some issues with the AV system in the lower conference room, so if anybody does plan on teaming in to that meeting, it may be best just to do it up here.
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about the actual event.
No, you're fine. Yeah, we're talking about the administrative office's discussion. Does that need to be?
I think that absolutely should be treated as a public meeting.
Okay, so we can have Lori post that.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll do it in this room then. We'll have the AV system, so. Thank you.
Thank you. I know is anyone else? I can force it to work at 9 AM to be in here. It's certainly a little easier if Zooming, but if everyone else is gonna be here, I'll be here. But if we're gonna be doing virtual anyways,
I'll be here.
you'll be here too. Are you?
I've got another, I have another meeting at 9 AM, but I will probably be able to make it work virtually.
Okay. So let's plan on doing it in here. That way, for folks that can do virtual, great.
Yeah.
Very good. Thanks for bringing that up. Any other discussion? Otherwise, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned. Thanks, guys.